Hey, everybody. Thank you for requesting this private session that Whitney and I are getting ready to do. We were just chatting a little bit. I didn't get too much information, but it sounds like we're going to work on something that has to do with relationships, maybe even boundaries. Is that what you'd say, Whitney?
Yes.
All right. So, what I like to do is I like to get a little bit of background information, and then we just create this round of tapping to do to see what kind of energy we can set free or what kind of blockages we can break loose. So, tell me a little bit about the relationship dilemmas that you're having or the things that you'd like to see changed. If I could wave a magic wand and make everything different for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've, sort of recently come to the realization after one unfortunate dating experience after the next that I've never actually had a healthy relationship in terms of two people who care for one another, who respect one another, who are, mutually equally interested in one another. I tend to find myself in situations where I'm constantly sort of reaching and trying to stretch or contort myself to be somebody that's going to get their attention, their approval, their consistent efforts. It never feels natural. I feel like I constantly have to make an effort, and I realize it pretty quickly, but I always sort of will tell myself well, but they still want to see me or they're still asking me out. So I'll keep going, even though in my heart, I know that I'm not being seen fully. I'm not
Is
being
there a feeling that
respected.
maybe they'll change?
Yeah. Yeah. Or that eventually they'll just totally, respect me and love me and honor me. But it's the dynamic. It's the same dynamic over and over, wearing a different coat. Right.
Okay. All right. And so, what would you most ultimately want to call into your life relationship wise?
A healthy connection that's based on mutual respect and interest and kindness and consideration for one another.
What would that feel like?
Peaceful, which we kind of talked about. Unhealthy relationships can be a bit addictive because there's that up and down, dramatic excitement, the chaos. And so it can feel so good when you're treated well and so bad when you're disregarded or lied to or deceived, abused. So it's something much more what I visualize, and because what I've heard from other people when they eventually find a healthy relationship is that you feel at ease. You can rest. You don't feel like you have to control anything or, wonder when they're not around, if they're still thinking of you, if they're going to call you again, when are you going to hear from them next? Are they talking to someone else? Are they really that interested in you? All that questioning is exhausting. So to actually just be able to, be at peace with it and just trust and allow it to happen and to naturally be a good thing.
Yeah. What's the feeling that you have, if you can identify it, when you think about your relationship history? What's the negative emotion that comes up for you?
That I'm not good enough for somebody, that
Okay.
someone doesn't see me as really worthy of being in a relationship with, of considering, the ultimate to them, someone that they're really interested in, want to make an effort for. It's constantly with every action of theirs, I'm looking at oh, so they're not that interested in me. Oh, they're not going to make an effort for me. Oh, they're more interested in someone like that than me. So constant comparison, constant trying to gauge and measure based on different actions and situations about whether or not I'm good enough.
Are there any feelings that maybe it would be too hard to have a healthy relationship?
Not too hard. Well, actually, yes, I have those feelings because I often think I will never be secure enough to believe that somebody really loves me. That feels really hard.
Yeah. Because it sounds like you haven't had a shortage of relationships. They just haven't been healthy.
Yes. And I mean, they're very short lived. I've only had an actual, someone that I would call my boyfriend, my partner a few times. I've dated a
Okay.
lot, right? Short term, they call them situationships these days, where and it's kind of situationships are kind of that energy of constantly what are we? What are we doing? Am I going to hear from them again? Are they dating other people rather
Would you
than,
say you're getting to the point where you can cut them off a little bit sooner and you're not letting it last as long
yep,
once you
I just did
realize
it. I just did. I was done.
once you realize that it's not that healthy relationship that you're looking for? So there's
Yeah, let it
already
go.
like a ton to pat yourself on the back for, and you want to reach for that next level.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So when you think about that feeling of like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can make this happen. I don't know if I feel good enough or worthy enough of calling in that person that's really going to have a healthy relationship with me. How much stress or distress would that cause you on a scale of 0 where it's none and 10 where it's a lot?
Depends on the day.
Well,
I mean, there's
as we talked about on the show, right now is all that matters. That's
okay. Um,
all we can
right
work
now
on.
it's kind of like arresting like 3 or 4, where it's like a constant sort of like pool of sadness. That's like, maybe I don't have a relationship in this lifetime. Maybe I'm not meant for it. Maybe it won't happen for me. So
Okay.
it's sad.
Kind
It's
of like a
also
little like
distressing.
nagging buzz, kind of
Yeah. But also like
lingering.
grief, right? Like grieving in my heart. That's like, oh, I guess I don't get that. I don't get to have that.
Cool. So let's tap into this. And unlike the headache example that I gave on your show, this is not something where you're going to know that it's worked after we do it. This is something where you're going to feel things, and you're going to maybe notice that next time you go on a date or next time you're talking to somebody or whatever, that you're showing up a little differently, or your perception or the way that you're receiving others is a little bit different. And that's what you want to notice and be aware of, the way that you're showing up to these kind of things. It's gonna be subtle, but I think you're gonna feel a shift to just letting you know, like it's not like, the headache's gone, or I've now manifested my perfect partner. We can't work quite that instantaneously, but we can peel back some layers of this uh, proverbial onion and see what we can find. So all right, this is like follow the leader. So I'm gonna tap and I'm gonna say something and you're gonna repeat it back. EFT love specificity, and I can tell that you're very in touch with your feelings. So if I say something and you're like, no, that's not it, Theresa, please change it. We've had one conversation. I only know you so much. I try to tap into and read the energy and understand people, but I don't always get it right because I'm human too. So here we go on the side of the hand. Even though I sometimes feel like I am not good enough to call in the perfect relationship,
Even though I sometimes feel like I'm not good enough to call in the perfect relationship,
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
I love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I have all this evidence that I only get into unhealthy relationships,
Even though I have all this evidence that I only get into unhealthy relationships,
I'm open to the idea that maybe the next one can be a bit healthier.
I'm open to the idea that maybe the next one can be a bit healthier.
Even though I may even be a little bit addicted to the chaos of an unhealthy relationship.
Even though I may be a little bit addicted to the chaos of the relationship
And all those ups and downs.
and all those ups and downs.
I want to love, accept, and forgive myself anyway.
I want to love, accept, and forgive myself anyways.
Now we're going to move to the top of the head and start going through those other points. All of these chaotic and unhealthy relationships.
All of these chaotic and unhealthy relationships.
Times when I have felt like I need to stretch or contort myself.
Times when I felt like I need to stretch or contort myself.
All these ways that I have played small.
All these ways that I've played small.
Looking for approval and the efforts of another.
Looking for approval and the efforts of another.
And just hoping the right person would come along to give me the respect I deserve.
And just hoping the right person would come along to give me the respect I deserve.
To love me and honor me as I am.
To love me and honor me as I am.
All this worry that I might not be able to hold the boundaries I need to.
All this worry that I might not be able to hold the boundaries that I need
to create the healthy relationship I desire.
To create the healthy relationship that I desire.
Because in the past, I've slipped in this area.
Because in the past, I've slipped in this area.
So there's a little anxiety and fear that I might do it again.
So there's a little anxiety and fear that I might do it again.
These feelings of not being good enough.
These feelings of not being good enough.
That if I was good enough, it would already be here.
That if I was good enough, it would already be here.
Opening up to the idea that a healthy connection may very well be available for me.
Opening up to the idea that a healthy connection might very well be available to me.
And clearing all of these past relationships.
And clearing all of these past relationships.
All the trauma and chaos they've brought to me.
All the trauma and chaos they brought to me.
Down to a cellular level.
Down to a cellular level.
I don't need to contort or stretch myself.
I don't need to contort or stretch myself.
I don't need to show up as anything other than me.
I don't need to show up as anything other than me.
Open to the idea that I'm totally good enough to have what I desire.
Open to the idea that I'm totally good enough to have everything I desire.
And that while I'm aligning with the frequency of that perfect match,
and that while I'm aligning with the frequency of that perfect match,
I can give myself so much love.
I can give myself so much love.
So much respect.
So much respect.
And I can start honoring myself in all the ways that I want to be honored by another.
And I can start honoring myself in all the ways I want to be honored by another.
Now we're going to tap the sides of the fingers with love.
With love.
Compassion.
Compassion.
Middle finger. Tolerance.
Tolerance.
Skip to the pinky. And understanding.
And understanding.
Back of the hand between the ring finger and the pinky finger. I now forgive. I now forgive. I now forgive.
I now forgive. I now forgive. I now forgive.
And I call my power back into my body.
And I call my power back into my body.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
And I am holding a beautiful space to create this relationship.
And I am holding a beautiful space to create this relationship.
Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, Whitney. Hold it for a second and then exhale out through the mouth. And because there's some beliefs and some psychological reversal kind of at play here, we're going to do a few eye movements to end out this round. So I'm going to have you just look straight ahead as you continue to tap the back of your hand. If you're comfortable doing that, some people feel like it's patting their head and rubbing their stomach and it's too much. So if you need to stop tapping, you can. But just look straight. I want you to look hard down to the left, kind of diagonally, and then back up to center. And then I want you to look hard down to the right and back up to center. And then imagine there's a clock on the wall in front of you and just look up as if you're looking at the 12 hand on the clock. And I want you to roll your eyes clockwise in a circle, just hitting every number on that clock, trying not to miss a number. So a nice clockwise eye roll. So you're going to go all the way around and then back up. And then go all the way around counterclockwise, rolling your eyes. And then back up to the 12. And then we're going to hum just a few seconds of a song. Happy Birthday is an easy go-to. And then I'm going to have you count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then hum for a few more seconds. And then I want you to take another really nice deep breath. You can stop tapping if you want. And exhale. How did that feel?
Good. Good.
Any
I feel
aha
buzzy.
moments?
Mm-hmm.
You feel buzzy?
Yeah, in a good way. Mm-hmm.
Good. Did anything come up for you? Any thoughts or feelings or stuff while you were tapping?
Just felt like a release a little bit, like good, affirmations and concepts coming up. That sort of freedom sense of like, yeah, and this is true. I can offer myself what I'm seeking from in others.
Yeah. And through doing that, you will raise your frequency to what you want to attract and you will more readily call it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where would you say you are now on that scale of 0 to 10 that you were at a 3 or a 4 before?
Yeah, probably more like a 2, like
Awesome.
a 1 or 2. It's less. Feels lower.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially cutting it in half. It was a low number already, but cutting that in half. And that just kind of shows you a little bit of the possibility. So if we were actually doing a session, if you were my client, we would go to like, what's left? and that's like where I would encourage you to go. Like, what's still there that makes it a 0 or a 1 still? And that would be the next thing that, that we would be tapping on if we were in a session.
Yeah.
We got down to the root. So, you're good at locating those kind of things. So I'm sure you can figure out what's next for you and tap it out, talk it out, work it out, however you like to. But thank you so much for doing that with me. And I encourage anybody who, listened and tapped along with us, because I know a lot of people are desiring better relationships in their lives. Feel free to drop me a line, email Theresa@teresalearlevine.com. And I'm sure that Whitney would love to hear from you too. You want to drop your email?
Yes. Whitney@womenwaken.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. I love to hear like what your number was when you started, what it was when you finished, what kind of aha moments came up. Basically the same questions that I just asked Whitney. Feel free to shoot me an email and let me know. And that would just make my day. And thank you for tapping along with us. And thank you, Whitney, for being willing to be vulnerable and participate.
Thank you, Theresa, for this beautiful gift. That was so poignant. And so the timing is perfect. No wonder we had to wait 8 months. I needed this today.
Perfectly aligned and right on time. Thank you.
Yeah.